Hello and welcome you crazy people to Tabletop Oddity. My name is Jay and today I'm going to be titling this video something along the lines of, does wargaming have a Twitch problem? And you might be like, what are you talking about? Which I guess a lot of people say that straight off the bat, but basically I'm here to say that wargaming is not doing particularly well on Twitch as opposed to say something like D&D. And I want to sort of explain why I think that might be the case and what we can possibly do to help wargaming as a whole. So the premise here is that D&D has become increasingly more popular. There's an article from Polygon saying so, they're all talking about a renaissance of D&D. And that's probably because of the ease it is to which you can play it. Like, you can stream it on Twitch very easily using certain tools. You can easily play it from home. Even like Wizards of the Coast, the makers of D&D, they've embraced it. They've got an article on their website showing how to stream to Twitch if you want to stream to Twitch. So by all accounts, it's, this online renaissance is the cause of why D&D is sort of seemingly more popular. Oh yeah, of course some people are going to sit around a table and still play, but online it's become especially prevalent now. D&D is sort of like the fun banter from TV and films. So a lot of it is like in the mind. And that's a little bit easier to translate if it's just people talking than say like a war game. And I think like it was just the stars aligned to let D&D rule the digital airwaves. Like tools like Roll20 came along, people got good internet speeds, decent mics, decent webcams, and basically anybody who's geeky can pretty much play it from wherever without leaving the house. It's much more convenient. You can fit it into your busy life. But this isn't a video necessarily why D&D is popular. Just know that I'm using it as an example that the easiness of online is a big part of the renaissance of D&D. And that leads me to say why I think wargaming sort of needs its own online D&D. So wargaming takes away the story and all the chat from D&D, and instead it relies mainly on the combat and the tactics and the strategy and that kind of thing. Yeah, people run campaigns where they try and have like battles mean something next to the next and stuff like that, but really it's about the game itself. Yeah, there's games like Frostgrave where there's sort of like your own story to it and that kind of thing, but really it's about the strategy, the combat, the tactics and that kind of thing. And personally, I like both roleplay and wargaming. I definitely have an interest in both, but I can see why certain people would only like one or the other or none or both. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's enough difference there. But I think one thing that this focus on gameplay leads to, it means it's actually quite difficult to translate it to the screen. D&D is just mainly talk with maybe a visual representation, but not necessarily that important. Obviously, some people do play with like squares and the combat matters like 100%, but some people don't. Some people play with like abstract combat and that kind of thing. So the gameplay of wargaming basically leads itself to being difficult to translate to the screen, and that is possibly a big problem with why wargaming as a whole is not as popular as I think it probably could be. I think it's actually more popular than it appears, if that makes sense, because it's actually quite difficult to translate to the screen. Even on YouTube, a lot of wargaming YouTube channels don't necessarily make battle reports, and that's because they're pretty hard to do as well. They're hard to do at first, and then they're even harder to do well. And if you're thinking, no, they're not, Jay, I would highly recommend that you try it out for yourself, because either you'll find it easy and you're in for a great you've got a great thing going, or you'll then agree with me and we're back at square one kind of thing. But so instead, a lot of like YouTube channels will focus on painting, tutorials, guides, random chats like this. So there obviously is an interest there, but it's just difficult to translate the gameplay over. Like, it's difficult enough to capture wargaming in pre-recorded video battle reports that are edited down. It's even actually more difficult to do that live, say on a website like Twitch or, wherever you're live streaming. if you are going to try and do it live, which we have tried before, you really need like good audio, which is actually like quite difficult if people are away from a desk or a mic like this. You're going to need different camera angles. I think like GW, like Games Workshop streams, probably the best example, and even that I think could be improved for in a few ways. But they've got like commentators away from the game. They've got multiple zoomable camera angles and so on. But obviously that isn't available to like your average content creator. So transferring wargaming to Twitch and live streaming, I'd say, is actually very difficult. But we sort of see a demand for wargaming content, at least, even on Twitch, in the painting section. Like, people will watch other people paint miniatures, which, I mean, when you think about it, it sounds really boring, but like, people are interested in this kind of thing. They'll watch people paint miniatures, talk about what they're painting, and that kind of thing. So I would say that's an indication that the demand for wargaming live content is there. It's just difficult to provide for. There's a few things that could fix this, but for example, we've had like digital versions of the game, like Tabletop Simulator for me is a great example. Tyren's been working on the Star Wars Legion one, there's an X-Wing one, and they're absolutely fantastic, but the community is not quite as big as I would like personally, but it's not as big as I thought they could be. Then you've got other spin-off games, like there's a guy making Fly Casual, I think it is, which is an X-Wing specific like app, and you know, really good, but these aren't official, so I think people are a little bit wary of them sometimes. And as I said, they're not really taking off in a massive way. Like, there's a problem with the section on Twitch. Nobody necessarily knows where to stream it to. You've got board games, you've got Tabletop Simulator. You don't really have like a wargaming section. So it's, I would like a wargaming section where, you know, Warhammer, War Machine, Star Wars Legion, or like whatever could all just be played there. So we had like a community of wargamers instead of a community of board gamers who are doing war games kind of thing. So I think the section on Twitch could be improved a little bit. But maybe overall, maybe wargaming is not as popular as D&D, or maybe like it never could be. I sort of don't believe that. I think D&D is popular because of, it's not just popular because of the ease of use kind of thing, but it's a big part of it right now. It's a lot easier, there's a lower barrier to entry, you don't have to paint all your miniatures and that kind of thing. But the fact that I can just sit at home and play with 5 group of friends online really adds something to, you know, people getting involved kind of thing. You can literally just find a group online if you want to. So, I mean, yeah. Now, I do understand that a lot of people like wargaming for the aesthetics of it. You know, we want to see nicely painted miniatures on nicely prepared battlefields going at it, and that's a big part of a lot of people's hobby. And maybe transferring this to an online or a digital sphere is going to take that away somehow, unless, you know, you're going to do it the GW style where it actually shows all of that. If you were doing like a digital representation, it's not the same, and a lot of people that will put a lot of people off, sadly. But whether or not, I mean, some people would say the same about D&D. Like when I was trying to play D&D with my friends, and they were like, oh yeah, but I like having the models and stuff like that. And we were like just using old crappy models with cardboard terrain and stuff like that. And I was like, really, we can, if we really want it, we've got like nice little pictures on Roll20 and stuff like that. Like, I personally think the aesthetic of the digital games are still good enough, but I can understand why some people won't like that. And perhaps maybe it's actually the type of war games that are the problem. Like, maybe a 6x4 war game, it's just impractical for most people, regardless of online or what have you. Maybe if we have more games where it's like little 3x3 skirmish games, or, you know, 5 models versus 5 models, sort of like a League of Legends kind of little skirmishy game. Maybe that could be both digital and physical, and you know, if you scale things down, we can increase the digital aspects a bit easier. Sort of a little bit like XCOM, I guess, but, you know, with the specific rules of your war game. Now, FFG, Fantasy Flight Games, they've got a new digital section of their company, and they're currently, I think, making a Lord of the Rings card game, but they've also done like an Imperial Assault co-op game, which I felt like they could have just had an Imperial Assault online game. Like, it seemed like that was possible, but obviously they want to still have the sales of the board games. But I think what we're going to need to see is a new game that comes out with a digital game and a physical game at the same time, and the rules be the same. I think that might be the one that really like catapults us into the next stratosphere. Who knows though, I could be completely wrong. I don't necessarily have a solution for this. I still think wargaming needs a sort of spark to increase in popularity. I think there's just something perhaps a little bit missing right now, and I think it's all to do with the ease of play and the ease of which content can be made. My personal goal is I'm going to really try my hardest to make wargaming as a whole better on YouTube. I'm not saying I'm going to succeed. I'm just going to try. Eventually, I would like to do some of it on Twitch, but Twitch is a bit of a problem, and I'm not really sure how to solve it. It seems live content is becoming more and more important, just in the world, YouTube gaming, Twitch, that kind of thing. And I think wargaming doesn't really fit it very well at the moment, at least. And I think it's a bit of a problem. I'm not sure where we're going to end up. I just think it's a bit of a problem. I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts on the matter. Do let me know. Am I completely wrong? Is it not a zero-sum game? Does the rise of D&D not matter about wargaming? Is wargaming just as popular as ever? I mean, I think the problem with wargaming is that there's a lot of games, and a lot of the time, people are spread too thinly. And what we really need is a couple of small, popular games. Now, I say need if you're trying to improve, wargaming as a whole. I think we need that. It's healthy to have smaller games as well, but for a general public consensus, I think popularity is important. That's why I think Star Wars Legion versus Warhammer 40k is actually a really good thing. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are for wargaming and needing an online version of it or something. Let me know what you think we might end up with. And, as ever, guys, have a most beautiful day and goodbye. Bye. Oh, wait, no. Like and subscribe and then goodbye. Bye.